This is a review.
Anyway, now that that's out of the way.
You like stole those words right out of my mouth. How dare thee? Godzilla, though.
Yeah. Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Bad. Not good. In my opinion.
Magnificent trailer.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
Well,
magnificent.
If
but
we're talking
the movie just didn't.
Just ad campaigning, just trailer cutting, editing, putting music to visuals.
Whoever made that trailer is a genius.
Oh, it deserves a raise.
Yeah,
Beyond
they should make the movie.
Directed the movie, yeah.
Yeah, whoever made that trailer, they saw the glorious parts of the movie and put them all together into
what was Warner
great
Brothers
music
thinking? Like, what was this?
I will say I don't think I disliked the movie as much as you did.
Oh, no.
But I do think it had a lot of problems. It was disappointing.
I feel like I went into it with a lot of expectations. When it comes down to it, it was one of the most highly anticipated films of this year for me.
Oh, I mean, it still, for me, is like one of my favorite trailers of all time that I've ever seen.
2014's Godzilla, in my opinion, was a really solid film that I think could have been worked on, could have built up. There were highs, there were lows, there were more highs than this movie, in my opinion.
It's weird because...
But the lows didn't they didn't reach the lows of this, but we'll get into that.
It's one of those things that people will be like, oh, it's a stupid complaint, but it's like, for the 2014 Godzilla, I think for a lot of people there's not enough Godzilla, and I think in this one possibly there's too much Godzilla, too many monsters anyway, too many monster fights possibly, just too much.
So there was a point, and I had actually recorded, so beyond the first scene, which... for the record, we came in a little bit late.
I missed the
the first 2 minutes.
News exposition they threw out at the beginning or whatever it was.
Yeah, I had heard that it started out with the San Francisco attack in the first movie, and that's why Kyle Chandler had a hatred towards Godzilla.
Because it shows the sun. Okay.
That was it, though, because for about 30 or 40 minutes, I don't remember seeing Godzilla again.
In the King of Monsters?
Yeah, in this most recent one. It took a while. I even looked at you, because we were like, when we went into it, we were like, wow, a lot of people had a lot of complaints about the first one, not seeing Godzilla enough. The human characters were not developed as they should be. The Bryan Cranston, scenario where people are like, oh, well,
there has to be some
hyped him up and he dies.
You can't, any Godzilla movie, you got to have some a little period of just characters talking about. I don't know. You got to have some build up. In the first Godzilla movie, it just felt like the first 2 acts were build up. And then the third act, Godzilla finally kind of comes out in the 2014 Godzilla. But in this one, it took a few minutes, but it was still early on in the movie.
They wanted you to assume the build-up. Or not assume. They wanted you to... You already had to have the pre-knowledge of this kind of already half-assed notion of the San Francisco attack, because again, people thought that was kind of too late in the game already for the first movie. Even though it was pretty cool, that was the best scene, is when it got demolished and all that stuff. But then for them to be okay, so this is the emotional tie to all of this, that Godzilla killed their son in that attack, and now it's just about a broken family. It's just this broken family is doing the best they can in this post-apocalyptic type world, full of demonic creatures, Godzilla,
ancient
Mothra,
King, which is what
Ghidorah.
The kaiju, yeah. I don't know, seeing these gigantic, just ancient beasts, is kind of the coolest part of the whole idea of a Godzilla universe with all the shared monsters, but it was still really cool to see. Like, I don't know. I think they made a lot of choices in this movie that was better than the 2014, in the sense of, like, the 2014 Godzilla was a better crafted movie, but they shouldn't have brought in the Mutos or whatever those monsters were. They should have picked some classic monster that was well known or something, and had
in the
Godzilla
first
fight
one.
that in the first movie. So, like, there were a lot of things they did right in this movie, just from basic choices of, we're gonna have these,
like, very slight Easter egg.
Yeah, well, they show one straight up in person to
but
I
thought
bow
all
to
of them
him.
died, though. Like, I thought they
I
got
did
their
too,
fucking heads ripped off.
But it's been a while since I've seen it. But
Yeah.
but yeah. And yeah, I guess I don't remember the 2014 enough to know what happened to those guys. Maybe one of them walked off at the end.
I don't know. I believe that.
I have no idea.
I
remember him breathing down the throat of one of them.
Yeah, and ripping off. He rips off its head, and he goes into the San Francisco Bay, like dragging it along like the water line. It's very majestic. But then he comes back alive at the end, and here we go, sequel. But
I like, I don't know, I kind of like the choices they made in a way better for this movie. I don't know. I like what they were going for in this movie better than what they were going for with the 2014. It just wasn't done as well. Like, I don't know, it just fell short, but I like that they tried so hard to include all these awesome things. It just didn't play out very well. Even down to the one thing that really should have been awesome was the monster fights, and sometimes they were, but the CGI was lacking at times.
Oh my god,
Which is just sad to say, because like that's like if you're not going to do the human characters justice, you at least get the action right. And
before we
even that was lacking sometimes.
King Ghidorah was really bad, in my opinion.
He was at time. There were still some awesome shots of him.
And here's the thing.
Basically stuff from the trailer.
We're just going to go ahead and go into King Ghidorah.
Just jumping in there.
I heard that there was 3 different actors that were supposed to like portray 3 different heads, and like they were all supposed to be super unique, like from what I heard. That would be interesting. From Comic-Con last year. Like I heard that it was supposed to be like some really crazy shit. I got none of that. None. No different personalities or anything from the heads. Like there was some. They kind of like nipped at each other, and like it was very much like 3 like like cats or something, like all strapped to the same body. Yeah. Like it was interesting to see them interact that way, but they didn't all feel unique necessarily in any way. Still intense. Like even, I mean, there were certain points in the fight where I was like, oh my god. And it just didn't look. Get got. Every time I even see like the trailer pop up in my YouTube thumbnails, and I see like a close up of Ghidorah, I'm just like, oh, that just looks like CGI from like 2008 or something. It just doesn't. Yeah. The textures aren't right, and it some like Matrix sequels. After just watching Game of Thrones season 8, a television show, I was like, ooh, this is like almost not even as good as Game of Thrones. You said that last CGI. Time, yeah. No, that was like one of the few things, because we try not to talk about it too much until we get behind the mics, but I forgot about that. Probably should have turned that off. But yeah, you were talking about how like the Game of Thrones graphics were in season 8 were phenomenal, and in this it was like, because dragons, King Ghidorah, and the dragons in Game of Thrones, they were kind of similar in some ways, even in the way they were animated, but it was just. Yeah, better detail was done with the Game of Thrones almost. At least for season 8, not before that. But it's like if you're doing one movie, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, like that's where you gotta focus on that and get it right. It just wasn't done well enough. If you're not gonna put stock inside of the characters where you don't need CGI, if you're not gonna put stock into their development, then you should be putting, I feel like they should building up the other part of it. Again, like Godzilla, King of Monsters, like you just said. As much as I like the ambition, there should have been less fights. They should have cut back on
how often they showed the monsters, and they should have focused on better, like if it was a budget thing, and put more money into the fewer scenes with monsters fighting.
I feel like I'm gonna be a rotten egg right here, and this really took me. I'm gonna be like completely honest on here. The white-haired character of the doctor, or like that character took me so fucking far out of this fucking movie. I'm sorry, I'm cursing, but like that was just bad. He was just had the worst delivery. The lines that he was given, even if he had great delivery, like he was screwed from the get-go. Like there was no point to what he was doing as far as how he was
supposed to be a comic relief character.
It was supposed to be slapstick, and it just didn't land for me, and I could not stand any.
Wasn't a lot of relief.
Oh no. Yeah.
I knew as soon
like
as
angst,
as soon as and when I talked about how much I loved the trailer earlier, I'm talking about the first trailer that came out, because when the second trailer came out and they had the oh my god, and then his character Zilla, like I was like, oh, that's
not good.
That's really bad. There's gonna be some. I knew then that there was gonna be some bad dialogue in the movie, and there was a lot of bad dialogue. That is hands down its biggest problem. I think
Ken Watanabe, like, you know,
and so many like good, even
Bradley
Whitford, the guy who played the character you hate.
Oh, yeah.
Even he's a good actor, and he can be hilarious too in some movies, but yeah, these characters were just not good.
What time is it? Time to get a new watch. Like, okay.
There's just a lot of
Sally Hawkins, right? The Shape of Water lady. Like, oh my gosh, her send out. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it, but Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, well, I guess we should go ahead and say that we're probably gonna spoil some stuff in this. So spoilers ahead for. We probably already spoiled a few things, but yeah, just a heads up, we're probably gonna spoil some things.
She's dead. She does not survive.
A few characters do not survive.
Her last final words as an epic character is it's not good. It's not good at all.
I think you had said, was it Wikipedia that said that the character you hate was based on Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty, the Bradley Whitford character?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Which his character's name is Rick. I didn't realize. Yeah. It's just wow, very on the nose.
Yeah. I saw it this morning and I cracked the fuck up. It's like, this is ridiculous.
Maybe this is just me, but one of the first things like I just kind of laughed at was like Ghidorah's Monster Zero. And every time they said that, I just pictured some weird, like, 0-calorie Monster Energy drink advertisement. Like, Monster Zero, get yours now.
It's like Jamie Lee Curtis eating, like, a cup of yogurt. Just like, try Monster Zero. Like, what the hell is this?
So every time I heard it, I was like, all right, that's what we're going with. Monster Zero. Okay.
Yeah. Until someone's
no
like,
calories.
Ghidorah. I did think it was really cool, the Asian lady, I can't think of her. I can't think of the character's name, but they did the callback and it showed the picture of her ancestors and it showed the twins, which I thought it showed the twins that were able to like contact Godzilla, Mothra, and
she played it. She was a twin, yeah.
She was one of the twins.
I'm kind of confused on this.
I thought she was an ancestor of the twin.
Mothra's always got the or not always, but Mothra's got the twin thing going on with her character.
Yeah.
But that character played, or that actress even played two characters, Dr. Eileen Chen and Dr. Ling. and I think they're supposed to be twins. So
What?
I don't fully
I
even.
did not catch that
Yeah,
in the
no,
movie
we need-
in any way, shape, or form. And this is why I said I'm either super racist or I just need to rewatch,
I need to rewatch
the movie.
but yeah, see, all the characters are underdeveloped, so it's. I don't know if it's our fault.
No, I don't know, because I still came out like, and no matter what, I'm gonna come out of it thinking it was not a good movie.
And I mean, and Mothra was. I gotta say, Mothra was kind of cool.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, so
there were a few. I didn't expect the whole like when she flew in. It was just like a fucking
that was beautiful.
god of light butterfly.
I liked her evolution. The larva state. I liked when she did come in when she waved down
spider webs.
and she the spider webs. That like super callback. That was beautiful. Like me and Jacob fist bumped because I mean like that. I mean that's just beautiful.
Yeah,
like it was
that was
so
awesome.
cool to see. You didn't see enough of it after that though. You see it in that one scene. And that's it. Like same with Rodan. Like Rodan had that really badass. I mean, just coming out of the volcano.
That was awesome. Rodan's sequence was one of the
gosh.
coolest. Like even just and then sweeping across the town and
and just
the wind. Oh man, that is
it was a sight.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
and that's the stuff I want to see. Like I loved seeing that. Like that was very impressive. It was anytime they got up close to some of the monsters that things got kind of bad. But
yeah, again with Ghidorah, like, and then that makes me upset that I'm not
it
sure
was
if we should...
Ghidorah's birth though, or not birth, but like when Ghidorah got free.
from the ice.
It was kind of a cool like sequence.
The heads,
just
like,
all of it.
yeah.
It reminded me of, I don't know if you've seen this, but Reign of Fire, that old
with Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey.
There's a scene where the dragons first get born where he's like escaping out of like a mine shaft up an elevator. And it was very similar because they get in an elevator and they're like going upward to try to escape. I got heavy Reign of Fire vibes from that scene. But
I'm pretty sure you showed me a scene of that of Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey, hell yeah. Spoilers for Reign of Fire. But yeah,
sorry,
at the end, Matthew McConaughey just
like,
straight up.
You've told me about
He
this.
like he's gonna go for the kill on the dragon. He just jumps off a roof with an axe, and the dragon just fucking eats him in a
swallows
second.
him.
Very, yeah.
Time
It's
is a flat
scene.
circle.
Damn, one of Matthew McConaughey's best roles.
Oh, jeez. Kyle Chandler, decent. He's good.
All the actors did
he has a
decently,
free pass
honestly.
after Super 8.
The lines were bad, but I don't think any of the actors were necessarily bad.
Oh, no, I will...
You disagree.
No, I totally
Clearly.
disagree.
But I don't think any of the actors were that bad.
No. I would say O'Shea Jackson had really bad line delivery.
Which one was he?
The soldier that just kept popping up.
Well, I gotta say, the soldiers' dialogue
bad
was
'cause
some of
he's
my
a
least
great
favorite in
actor.
the whole movie. Was the soldiers. Every
He
time
had
they
some
cut to
really-
them, I just cringed.
Yeah.
There was one sequence where all the scientists were talking and they kept just cutting back to the soldiers to be like, so what you're saying is, and they just repeat it in a dumbed down way for the audience. Like, so Godzilla and Mothra got some weird connection. Like,
But even,
it was just all of it. So just,
Middleditch, though, even he had some, like, really, in my opinion, some lowbrow comment. Like, he was supposed to be the scientist. He's the opposite end of, like, he's like the anti-O'Shea Jackson in this movie.
He was disappointing
He's
too.
like the mirrored vision. He's like, well, this is the scientist and this is the soldier, and they're both like
they were all just
shit dialogue.
Yeah, honestly, every character had shit dialogue when it came down to it. But I guess it was really just that one sequence with the soldiers. It was really just one scene where they just kept cutting back to the soldiers to dumb down, explain things. I was just like, it was just like the epitome of the movie where I was just really disappointed by how dumbed down everything felt. The whole movie felt very, like, I wish they would have had more respect for the audience, and everything felt just way dumbed down and explained by every character to a T. Where it was just like I get it. Like, okay. Don't need to explain it this much and have like 3 different characters say it in different ways.
What do you think about the Lannister villain?
Tywin,
Yeah.
Charles Dance.
Yep.
He
Alan, I think his name is in the movie.
He wasn't bad. He just, again, I don't think any of the actors. I don't blame any of the actors. I just think their dialogue wasn't that great. It's like, what do you do with that?
Long Live the King was like mentioned twice in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I know you thought it was a cringy moment in the trailer. That was like your least favorite part of the trailer, of like the best trailer that has ever come out for one of the worst Godzilla movies in my opinion. I'd rather watch the 1999 Godzilla. I'm gonna put that on the record. I'd rather watch the Matthew Broderick.
I disagree with that, but I never saw that when I was real little, so I don't have any nostalgia.
I'm a grown ass man, and I'll fucking say that. I think that was a better movie.
I don't know about that. Maybe.
Man.
At that point, they're both bad movies, and I just have to say, like, I enjoyed the monster fights in this one much better. So.
Well, that's true. Yeah. At least there were decent monster fights.
Mm-hmm.
It was more. This was a true Godzilla. And when it comes down to it, it is a true Godzilla movie. Like, diehard fans are going to love it.
Some of them.
Oh, yeah. And
I gotta
our
say,
friend
this
Jacob,
is one of my least favorite Godzilla
He
looks.
was not a huge fan of it. And, I mean, he's like you. He had watched it because of his older brother that, had those DVDs. And just crazy CGI can't buy happiness.
I gotta say, this design of Godzilla, I don't love it. Especially there was one shot where it shows him from like the side, and he's like, might be the scene where he roars up into the sky and shoots fire into the air after the nuclear bomb thing. But like, I don't know, he looks like he has a pot belly, and his arms look too stubby. Like, I know his arms are stubby in general, but this design and his neck just isn't there. I'm not a huge fan of this design of Godzilla. There could be little improvements to make him a little more sleek. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but as soon as you do that, you run into the 1999 Godzilla territory where you make him look too much of like a lizard, like a walking
Well, not that either.
Raptor type creature.
I don't know, just a little more of a neck. Even I would appreciate it. Just kind of looked like a weird
Godzilla needs to work out.
Body. I don't know.
He's got the dad bod going.
Yeah, I guess.
Which I always thought Godzilla was a girl. I don't like. They kept saying him, but I thought Godzilla was a female for some reason. I don't know. Maybe that could have been the 1999 version. Could be why people hated it.
Yeah, you probably have some weird warped opinions on it because of that. That movie probably tainted your whole Godzilla.
I know it produced asexually, so it didn't need to be a gender. It could do whatever it wanted, whenever it wanted. So
I've never
good
really
for it.
thought about Godzilla's gender, but King of the Monsters does imply male, especially when they mention Mothra as Queen of the Monsters.
I'm not saying it degraded anything, but I just always thought that was it kept saying him, and I was like, oh, I thought in the last one it was a her, but I think I had that off a little bit, so that was my bad for assuming. I made an ass out of you and me.
I think where they really messed up was not doing the CGI as well, because the character, all the people stuff is bad, but it's like you could get past that if all the fights were awesome, and they weren't always awesome. Because the character moments, like one part that in particular stood out to me that was really bad was when the mom character, what's her name?
Vera Farmiga.
Yeah. When
she's I forget the character.
When she's finally telling them her plan, it's like she's got this whole PowerPoint presentation and weird. News clips. And I was just like, this is strange. The weirdest exposition delivery. It just felt like the laziest writing I could imagine, where it's just she's got the news plan up in a TV while she's talking, and flash into that, and
her death was
the worst exposition delivery.
Oh,
her Long Live the King delivery was I did not like it. I was okay.
She, as far as when the trailer came out, and we can agree, great fucking trailer. But when it came out, I was super excited for her, super excited for Kyle Chandler. Both of them just complete letdowns, and Millie Bobby Brown too, which
no one wasn't a letdown. It just depends on what your expectations were.
Yeah. The bar is so low for every other character. they're slightly like impressing me with.
Basically, you're saying those are the only two characters you had expectations for.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
So none of them would have met any expectations, I think. Even I will say though, I don't think I'm blanking on the actress's name and the character's name, but 11.
Oh, Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown. Thank you. Yeah, I think she did decent. I think she did good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think she did. She was
in
one
my
of
opinion, probably the
better
best.
ones
in
performance and even in character. Her character wasn't the worst.
I hated when like the scene where there were some really cringy moments where they forced her to like curse, like, oh shit, like I don't know, like they did some. She literally, I can't remember the moment, but something crazy happened and they forced her to be like, oh shit, and like it was so forced. It was totally like not in character. Like it's like, oh, she's growing up, like she's in more serious roles, and I don't know. I couldn't buy into it. I didn't like it.
I thought it was interesting in the scene. Like it's one of those things where afterwards, looking back, I was like, things seem different out of context. Where like she was in on it. Like her and her mom, when Charles Dance's character came in and like shot all the people when they were freeing Mothra and stuff, like they were both in on it that whole time, presumably, because they were working with Charles Dance. And so even like down to the scene in the elevator where she's like flipping Charles Dance off with her finger, it's like she only had the balls to do that because they weren't really hostages like we were kind of led to believe as an audience. Like they were just along for the ride with them. Like that was their escort essentially. So like she, like she didn't have to be like, oh, these guys are holding us hostage and worry about retaliation for flipping them off. Like they're working together.
Yeah, it was for the audience, and it was one of those nods that didn't really like.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just shows she didn't like him.
Yeah.
But it almost makes more sense afterward, because at the time I was like, damn, that's bold, and kind of explained to her as like, oh, she's just a bold little girl. But afterwards, it's like, oh, she was like working with that guy, and like she didn't have to fear that guy would shoot her, because like that guy was basically just partners with her mom.
Right. Yeah.
I will say too, I like the scene where her mom, like it was one of the few moments where I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's like what characters should do that they never do in shows, where like she's getting in a disagreement with Charles Dance, the mom, and like she looks around and all the characters are like mean mugging her, and she pulls her gun real quick and just aims it right at Charles Dance. I was like, hell yeah, that's what you got to do right there. Like draw first. That's all that matters. And I like that she drew that quickly and was ready to do what it takes.
Well, and he was like, this wouldn't have happened if it weren't for your daughter, kind of.
Which I think was,
He was like, oh, well, this is what happens when you have loose ends or whatever.
It felt kind of cheap, too, and something that they could have even... Well, I'll just say it. Like, it felt cheap that Millie Bobby Brown's character was just able to listen to them in their planning room, from her bedroom. I was like, really? You guys just are cool with her being able to just listen in on everything? Well, it's
to get her to just make that,
it's like,
switch. That was bad.
They could have just had a simple scene showing, like, Millie Bobby Brown's character being clever and like hooking up some rig to where she gets to listen on them secretly beforehand, and then it would have been like, oh cool, like her cleverness led to her being able to hear all their plans. But no, it's just like they just put her in a room where she gets to listen in on all their plans, I guess, like in the radio room. It was a very weird like thing to throw in there. It felt lazy instead of feeling,
especially with the technology that this story is like, the time it's set in. It has this technology that seemed like it's so out of anything from this universe that they've set up, like this monsterverse, that it's like if they knew this like they should have been more careful. Like why were they not on secure lines? Like why was she able to listen to that? It was just to force this story to go along. Like it was.
In terms of that weird technology they had with that they kept using with the voice.
Orca?
Yeah, the Orca thing, yeah. Did that feel kind of like a Jurassic World-esque twist where it's like, oh, human is the secret ingredient? It's like, In the same way that with the Indominus Rex. Oh, sorry, that wasn't human. That was Velociraptor. I expected. It just felt very like.
They should have gone that
in the
route.
same way that they
Really
did the like, oh, it's got Velociraptor. They were like, oh, the secret ingredient is human vocals. This is very just on the nose. It's like this doesn't feel very relevant. Okay, cool. Like cool twist, I guess. Like I don't care.
I don't understand how, and this is kind of jumping off topic, but if Aaron Taylor Johnson and Scarlet Witch aren't going to be in the, in this one, why is Millie Bobby Brown, the Lannister, and Kyle Chandler going to be in this next King Kong versus Godzilla? Like
Are
they're
they?
the main character, yeah. Like it just this is really the cast we're going to go with. Like why can't you just reboot it again? Like as far as if you're going to keep doing this MonsterVerse,
I kind of
thing,
expected that
like,
they would do that
new
after seeing
cast
this. That it would just be a new cast every time.
Like don't like I'm kind of worried like if this is.
I kind of don't care if it's a different cast. Like, give me a different cast every time. I don't care. Like, like when I go see Godzilla King of the Monsters, I'm not going to see Kyle Chandler or Millie Bobby Brown or any actor. I'm going to see fucking Godzilla fight some monsters. Like,
it would have been cool if like, Tom Hiddleston's character was the Lannister dude, Alan, from this movie. Like all grown up.
Oh, from Kong
like,
Skull Island.
Yeah, he's like the eco like terrorist type dude.
Yeah. What year was this supposed to be?
This
Present?
one, I would say, if not present,
Later.
5 to 10 years in the future.
So Tom Hiddleston's character would be like in his 70s or
70s or
80s.
80s.
A little older
Well,
than Charles Dance's character is supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think that guy's supposed to be in his like
60s, 70s, yeah.
Once you're in your 80s, you're not walking around killing people in the way
It would
Charles
have been,
Dance was walking
missed
around killing
opportunity,
people.
but like, I'm surprised no one showed up. I always thought they had said that someone's going to show up.
I gotta say too, that was one of the darker moments of the movie when Charles Dance's character first came in and they started killing those people, and he straight up headshots the dude.
He was about to kill. Yeah, if the daughter was in the room,
It's sad
Millie
too
Bobby
that
Brown
guy that he
died.
headshots was the guy
That
and
yeah,
again, watching it back, I feel like there's different context for the characters once you know what their motivations are. But like Millie Bobby Brown's mom was like, "Oh, why don't you go home?" And he was like, "No, I'm not gonna miss this, sleep or no sleep." Like she tried to save him, like even like not very hard. She could have tried harder. Like no, go home. I'm like now, but like she tried to get him to go home and he stayed. And he got headshotted.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you stay.
That's what happens in a 40%
you get
movie.
Reigns of Castemir'd.
You get got. I think that's all I have to say about Godzilla. It's gonna make me more depressed. I will say, and I did tell you this last night, but this is one of the most Gesundheit. One of the most like disappointed like coming out of the movie theaters experience I've ever had since The Last Jedi. Which again, that wasn't too long ago, but
I was far more disappointed with The Last Jedi.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, I think we. Here, well, the issue
Maybe
is
not right at first.
We keep the bar of The Last Jedi at about pretty equal, like it's equilibrium where we keep that shit. But I think where we put this movie is a little different. But how I came out,
I think for me that the characters being bad wasn't as big of a blow, because
you're going to see a Godzilla
like
movie.
with The Last Jedi
Right.
type thing. Like I'm expecting an awesome story, and was very disappointed in that. But in this, I just want to see some cool action with some decent characters. And the characters are bad, but like I can get over that. But that even the CGI was lacking at times, so that was
Still
that
kind
was
of knocked
disappointing.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
So that combined with bad characters, just like come on, you got to get something right. Which, they didn't get nothing right. They did some things good. Enough that like, I'm not giving up on them as a franchise. Like this, for me, I'm like, all right, like this is a misstep, but let's get it corrected, and I'm excited to see what you guys are gonna bring, because this was a bold move with this movie.
This is one of those.
I appreciate the risk.
This is a terrible movie, in my opinion, that I want to go see again. I will say that. Like, I am excited. Like, I told you, like, if we were to do, I didn't expect this review to go so long, but like, I did think if we were to do a full-on review, like, I would love to have seen it again to get a little more exact. Like, I don't think I'm gonna end up liking it when I do rewatch it, but it is something that I think I will be able to just turn my mind off of, enjoy the CGI. I had read a lot of people, and even our friend, again, Jacob, whose family grew up or had him grow up on Godzilla. Like, his I think mom, I think he said, like, fell asleep during it. And she's the seed that, like, planted that love for Godzilla. Like, if she's the one that's falling asleep during this, that means, like, most of the people that ended up loving it back then is not, or are not, responding to it like Toho, the company, wants it to be responding to.
There were moments near the middle-ish, endish area where I was like, I'm getting kind of tired. Yeah. Is this going to wrap up soon?
Most definitely.
Which is kind of sad to have thought. But I love Godzilla.
I would love to rewatch it, though, like, straight up. I do think it would be really cool. I do think it's really cool. It is a CGI fest.
What would you give it overall?
I'd C-.
Obviously, that could change once you rewatch it. But
I would say anywhere from C- to C+. Yeah, I don't think that's going to change.
I think I'd give mine the same area, somewhere around just a C.
It's a passing grade.
It wasn't a failure, but it was disappointing. It could have been a lot better.
I think the 2014 version.
I think I liked Kong better.
Oh, hands down.
In terms of all the three entries into this little
Kong,
universe, I think
Godzilla,
I like
Godzilla, King of Monsters is what I would put it at.
Well, I'll have to watch both Godzillas again to decide.
You think?
But I think I like the original Godzilla better.
Okay.
I don't know. Both of them were disappointing for different. I remember being disappointed when I first saw Godzilla because it was advertised around Bryan Cranston in a weird way, and they just
dies.
There was a lot of
death.
It's like very little Bryan Cranston, very little Godzilla. So I was disappointed at the time, but
the Muto kills him.
Definitely Kong's my favorite so far. So
have to rewatch that.
But that's not the only movie we saw this weekend.
No. Thankfully, this next one, in my opinion, I'd give it a bit of a higher grade.
Very different style movie.
Oh yeah, totally different movie. No, unless there's two giant beasts in each. Godzilla,
worthy of respect,
and Elton John. One could argue that Bernie
both
was
gods among men.
I loved Rocketman. Was awesome. I genuinely I really enjoyed that movie. Not as much as I thought I would. I guess I had really high expectations. But as far as musical, I mean, I'm a sucker for musicals. You know that. And I'm a sucker for Elton John. So any musical that has Elton John, music in it, for lack of better words, it's right up my alley. I love it.
I definitely enjoy Elton John, but you're definitely a bigger fan than I am. I know his hits, but I've never really listened to most of his music.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the few who I think didn't necessarily love Bohemian Rhapsody. Like it was all right, but it felt very just by the books and nothing special.
You're about to be hated by the internet.
Oh, I know. I know. Everyone loves it. And I didn't dislike it, but I was just like, it's good. But I went into this kind of being like, all right, it's going to be the same routine, but I was pleasantly surprised. I really like this movie a lot. This is, it was fantastic.
It reminded me of Moulin Rouge, but if Moulin Rouge was more of a biopic of Elton John's life, it had that fantastical, I forget something Fletcher, the guy who directed Rocketman, very much like Buzz Lardman. Laserman, the guy who directed Moulin Rouge. Fantastic. Like, he had the beats down as far as choreography, music hits, this color saturation, as far as like brightness. Like, it was a very bright movie. I would say Bohemian Rhapsody was a little dark. Like, kind of looked a little gray. Saturation was off a bit. But I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. A very fantastical film.
Yeah, it really went for it in a lot of areas that I just didn't. I didn't know what to expect going in, and I was surprised often. And I like that they went for the R rating. I feel like if you're gonna do a biopic about a famous rock and roll icon, like rock and roll is not PG-13. You know,
Yeah.
I just
Especially,
I hate to pin it. And I won't pin it just on that, and I like to
Elton
focus on
John's
that. But I
life.
really think rated R has got it. But I feel like Freddie Mercury should have.
Well,
Honestly,
you
that
can't-
movie should have.
yeah.
They should have gone for an R rating with Bohemian Rhapsody.
You
I
can't do
think.
a Mick Jagger movie
It felt
without being R.
family down almost,
Yeah.
like Bohemian Rhapsody. While this really was just like, wow.
There was
okay.
sex. There was drugs.
Yeah. Sex,
mean-
drugs, rock and roll. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, tons of rock and roll. It was more the rock and roll. I would say was. Not to knock on the music. I love the music of this, but the music was turned down on the rock and roll. It's more orchestrated.
Yeah.
It was more. Again, like you're watching a Broadway play.
It felt very much like a play.
I mean, they had 24-piece bands.
It
like,
was
doing
really
this shit.
you
like,
could compare it more to Across the Universe than to
Oh, yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh,
Really,
oh,
in terms
and-
of
Yeah, I would like if you were to if they had met and fucked. This would be the product of that.
honestly, yeah. And Taron Egerton, is that how you say it? Yeah.
Eggsy.
Yeah, Eggsy, good old Eggsy. Yeah, he was great. I wasn't sure what he was gonna be like, but he was phenomenal. He did a great job.
knocked it out of the park. There were certain even face movements, like when he would, and obviously they painted the gap between his teeth, but every time he did that
Yeah, that was
grin,
interesting.
like he just like knocked like he was like it was spot on. It was like pure Elton John-esque. Like it was like
Well, the high moments, and even though like one of the lowest moments where Bernie's character walks in at the party with the two girls into the room, and he's like, "Hey, man!" Like I forget what he says, but
he's
Elton's just sitting there all pissed off, and it's just like, "Yeah, why don't you go get a drink?" Yeah. It's like, that was
He's,
just
like,
some of the
pouring
best
himself some
delivery. I was just like,
vodka,
that's
too.
like his portrayal of just that like pissed off craziness was perfect. He did a great job.
Yeah, and he's like pouring himself a triple at that moment too. Like, he's like
With a handful of pills.
Jeez. Yeah, Bernie though,
That's-
like
spoilers for
yeah.
Rocketman, by the way.
well, yeah. Elton
Obviously.
John does a lot of pills and drinks a lot of alcohol.
Yeah, if you didn't know,
Sex, drugs,
there's
and
some
alcohol,
debauchery.
man. And rock and roll. Bernie though.
Bernie was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved his
Oh,
character.
dude.
I
Their-
loved
their
all the
whole, like
I loved all the
their
characters in this.
relationships.
Honestly,
Oh, yeah.
everyone was.
the mom was good.
All the characters felt fleshed out and like real people, which again, not to,
In a fantastical like landscape.
yeah, definitely. But and just focusing on certain parts of the life, and obviously some characters were a bit caricatured.
Yeah.
The dad and
Elton himself.
all of obviously any movie to a certain extent isn't real life. It is a sort of caricature of life, but yeah, Bernie was. I didn't know anything really about. Like I think I had heard even that Elton had a songwriter, but I had kind of forgotten. So even that was kind of all of this was kind of fresh for me, and just seeing Bernie's character introduced that way, and just all of it. That scene where they're singing what's that Western song that gets brought up.
Oh, when they first
and they
he's
sing
like,
it
I
back
like
and forth to
yeah.
each other. That was such a great scene. Like that was a very endearing.
Yeah.
Like instantly you can buy them as buddies when they do that.
Ironically, one of my least favorite parts is the last, like, because they sing that when they first meet, and then the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, like, where Bernie starts singing that, and like they like split for a second, like that. I thought that scene was really bad. Like, I did not like the execution, I guess, of it.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought, maybe because I love it, like, I love all of Elton John's songs, but that, like, I did not like that's the route they took for that.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been, I don't know. And that they didn't do Someone Save My Life.
Yeah, that was the one I was waiting for.
That would
There's only
a really
handful
good
of Elton
for
John
that.
songs I know,
Yeah.
and they pretty much went through all of them
In
except
that
for
moment,
that.
too.
I was waiting for that one,
Yeah.
which could have come in at multiple points in the story. That would have been an applicable song for the story, but
missed opportunity.
But hey, you know,
Yeah.
Still Standing was more important to have.
Yeah. Hey, whatever Elton wants, man, Elton gets.
A very small character that I loved too was his grandma.
Oh yeah,
that was
sweet.
one of my favorite characters.
Endearing, for
just
sure.
every time she did something, I was like, she was, that was just some of the more emotional parts of the movie, even though they were small. Was just seeing the grandma be supportive for me. That was a sweet thing.
Oh.
Taking him to the college and kind of that hard love too of being like, look, you gotta get over the shyness, man. Like she's like, look, you gotta toughen up. Kind of life doesn't give you a lot of chances, and this is one of yours. And giving him that hard love of like I'm here to support you. You gotta get over the bullshit. And
she's like the grandma from
you're great.
Coco,
get out there.
If the grandma from Coco would talk. Well, she's more or less comatose the whole time. But she's super sincere, though. You can see it in her eyes.
And then that scene later where I think it's Your Song, or is that what it's called? Where you say, this is your song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she just cutting to the grandma, being very impressed with seeing what he's doing. It was like almost full circle right there.
Yeah. I thought, that was really sweet. Just all of Bernie and Elton's like interactions, like, you know, in that scene where he went to go live with the mom and the grandma, and it was just cool.
Even the scene where
well.
where I kind of like, there's one scene early on where he's like, we've never had an argument in 25 years, and then the scene came up where he was really like laying into Bernie.
Oh yeah, right before the concert. Yeah.
In my head, I was like, oh, this kind of feels like it's an argument, but I guess Bernie never replied. But I really liked that scene. It was sweet how he kind of went off on him, and then just Taron played it off really well. Just that, like, he kind of pulled himself in. It's like, I'm sorry, but he still like didn't have time to do that classic like, look, I'm like not a long heartfelt apology. It's like he still had to go on stage.
That
and
fucker had to
so he
jump right in,
and he played that off perfectly. It just felt very realistic, and I like that scene a
30
lot.
seconds later, started playing Funeral for a Friend. You guys want the deep cuts? Let's do it.
He played a lot of the emotional parts really well. Like the scene where he visits his dad again later on.
Oh yeah, with the sons.
They almost hug and they almost shake hands, and it's like they don't know quite what to like. That was played off very well, and then to see his his relationship with his new sons, his new family, and
kind of reminds me of Step Brothers.
Shake hands, hug.
The way he interacts with both his father and his mother, very, very interesting. I guess the mom is played off kind of in a more hero.
She's like the kind of negligent, uncaring, but loving mother character. Yeah. It's like,
and then you just have an asshole dad. It's like,
and a dad who just couldn't express his feelings, basically.
Yeah.
The grandma, even, that was a good scene too, where the grandma sits him down after the parents split up, like as the dad's leaving, and just kind of just there to comfort him. And she says like, he's never been good at showing emotion when the kid's sad that his dad didn't hug him.
So was that his?
Which
they're like, whose mom is that? I want to know.
Who? Oh, the grandma?
The grandma.
Oh, I assume his mom's mom. It's
Okay.
his maternal
so why
grandmother.
Would he know about
I assume.
the dad not ever being?
Well, just from seeing their relationship for the last. Okay. How long did they say they were together? A long ass time.
Well, he was probably in his. If that's their kid.
Well, he said. I know the dad said at one
original.
point when they were leaving, he was like, "So many years of putting up with your shit."
I think it was 20 or 25.
But yeah, seeing the grandma, I don't know. That was a good scene too.
Yeah.
She, but yeah, the mom, like, especially that scene where he, like, comes out to her. It's like a roller coaster of like first like Elton's having like a breakdown, then he's like telling his mom he's gay, and it's like, how's his mom gonna react? And she's like, oh, I've known, and like in my head I was like, oh, that's sweet, like she's known for years and she doesn't care, but then she delivers that like, you're never gonna be loved properly by making this choice, and I was like, oh shit, man, that's it's very up and down with my emotions there.
I think this is one of my favorite Bryce Dallas Howard roles.
I straight up, I thought to myself at one point, I was like, she reminds me of Bryce Dallas Howard, but I like never even thought in my head, because I didn't look up any of the cast beforehand. Like I didn't think it was her. Like it came in my head, I was like, oh, it reminds me of her, but I didn't think that would be her. So it's surprising.
Putting on a like really kind of out of character, or not out of character, out of actor like English accent, like kind of took me out of it. Couldn't get past that. Honestly.
Richard Madden too, very interesting.
Really? And he's
role like for me, like
American?
to see him. No, he's British. Sorry, I guess Bryce Dallas Howard she's the only American in it, right? Is Jamie Bell? He's British, right?
I have no idea. Well, about if she's the only American. Jamie Bell is English for sure.
That is interesting that they'd even pick Bryce Dallas Howard for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very interesting role for her.
Again, like, kind of took me out of it. Just hearing her, like, try and pronounce certain words in her.
Not knowing it didn't, like, not knowing that was her, it didn't stand out to me.
Yeah. It's Ron Howard, I can just see him being like, oh, I could do like, can you imagine like Ron Howard doing Arrested Development narration in like a British like English type accent? That'd be crazy.
I bet a lot of for British viewers, I bet they could tell, but I couldn't.
I liked it though. Definitely liked it. As far as musicals, yeah, I'd put it in my top. Like, I would put it up there with Phantom, Chicago, Arrested Development, Across the Universe. I put it up there with. Yeah, I loved it. I mean, it was great music, great visuals, trippy, you know.
Very trippy. It, which I love movies that make me just say what the fuck as I'm watching, and this movie made me say that a couple of times where I was just like, what is happening right now? And I really like that they went for that. One scene where he just like takes off literally a Rocketman, and then the song where he falls in the pool and his little kid is playing, his kid self is playing on the piano. It's just like, I love those moments, honestly. For me, those were the moments that I was just like, wow, this movie is blowing my mind with. For me, didn't expect any of this. Yeah, that's when I'm looking at you and Jacob and being like, oh, what have we gotten ourselves into? Psychedelic is a very kind word to use. Out of this world. They did a lot of weird stuff with Yeah, where he's floating with the whole crowd in that one scene from the piano.
Yeah.
They did a lot of
Jets
strange things.
Yeah, I didn't like how they did Benny and the Jets, honestly. Going back to it, I forget exactly what the visuals were, but I remember the music.
Party
aggressive.
hard.
It was very aggressive. I didn't like.
That was his like self-indulgent stage of. I went to the bathroom during the "Don't Go Breaking My Heart" montage. Most of that, I think.
Well, yeah, they played a song for it. I can't remember. You came in right as they only played "Don't Go Breaking My Heart" for like 30 seconds, but it showed a whole montage of like, yeah, basically rising to success. It showed a bunch of like newspaper clips and stuff. Kind of reminded me of the beginning of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Like Grindelwald is, instead of like saying Grindelwald killed all these X amount of people, like it's like Elton John's made all this X amount of money. Very similar. Evil wizards and such.
Pinball wizards.
Yeah, pinball. That had a weird inclusion, like especially because it's not an original. Like,
I was sitting there in my seat, being like, "Is this Elton John? I thought this was the Who."
Yeah, and I thought it was gonna be just like, oh, we're gonna just do this for a few seconds, but they sang almost half the damn song.
One of the bigger musical numbers for sure.
I liked it though.
I liked it a lot. Yeah. I'd give it a solid A.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hands down. Much better than Godzilla. Hate to bring that beast back up, but
just to rile things up. Much better than Bohemian Rhapsody, in my opinion, too.
Oh yeah. Well yeah.
Not to compare the two too much, I guess, but
I would say I would rewatch
inevitable.
both movies that are being reviewed in this video. I would say Rocketman and Godzilla, just for shits and giggles. Like, I'd rewatch both of them. And hopefully try and gain an appreciation more for Godzilla. Yeah. Rocketman, I am probably getting
I could see
more
myself
appreciation.
rewatching Rocketman
more
a few times.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But
I'm sure I'll rewatch Godzilla too.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up buying both of them eventually. Yeah. But Godzilla just almost obligatorily just to have Godzilla, King of the Monsters. But Rocketman, because I was very impressed with it. It went above my expectations. Definitely.
Well,
can't wait to see Rocketman 2.
Oh god. Well, I can't wait to see fucking King Kong versus Godzilla.
It's really weird too that we've seen. We now have like 2 movies with Taron Egerton and Elton John in it, since we kind of see Elton John at the very end of this movie.
I forget about
Kingsman
that.
2.
So I wonder how much like practice went down, like in between scenes of like Kingsman. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you better do this right."
Very strange.
He's like, "Benny and the Jets, go after him." The little robot like dogs. He's like, but also like, next time when you do this scene in the upcoming movie, you gotta hit that C sharp. I can only imagine the pressure.
He did good. Everyone did good in this
Fantastic.
movie. Richard Madden again. Gotta say he was very good.
Very gay.
Good old Rob Stark. Hardcore.
Battle of the Gay Bastards.
He was an abusive dude.
Yeah. Well.
Weird note to end on.
Godzilla
Godzilla and Rocketman.